My name is Bordainick, and I'm the executive director and founder of an organization called the Ninth Ward Field of Dreams, which was an effort to raise close to $2 million in cash and in-kind contributions to build a state-of-the-art community space, football field, track, stadium seating, and lighting, open it up to the public free of charge to combat the alarmingly high crime rate. And that's a good thing, we raised the money. But now I'm going to tell you the story leading up to it. When I thought about teaching compassion, right, I'm reminded of this, right, a desk. And this is what I thought of my senior year of college when my friends were talking about going into accounting and law and all these other things, and I stayed up one night and had a few too many beers and watched Dangerous Minds, and I watched Lean on Me, and I said, that's it, I'm going to do that. And I want to go down and do Teach for America and go into a classroom and make the change, right? I'm going to be Morgan Freeman and Michelle Pfeiffer rolled into one and completely kick butt. So lo and behold, in 2007, I moved down to New Orleans, and I remember the day before school, I did not have a job, and I got a phone call from a woman who said, I'm your principal, and you're to report here in the Ninth Ward tomorrow for your teaching assignment. And I said, well, can you tell me what I'm teaching? And she said, I don't know yet. I remember calling one of my friends from home, and I said, I'm going to teach at the school in the Ninth Ward. I don't really know anything about what I'm going to see there. And my friend said, what's wrong with you? You dress like you're in a boy band, and you're about to go to a school in like the inner city. Like, these kids are going to eat you alive. I showed up that day on a campus that was in the parking lot of an abandoned school. And the school was set up in 8 FEMA trailers in that parking lot. And I closed the door to my car, and I'm looking for the woman who told me I was working there to figure out what I would be teaching. And they still didn't know. But they opened up a door to a classroom that had 30 desks, like the ones you see here, 40 students, and they said, here you go, Mr. Bordainick, here's your classroom, and closed the door. Approximately 25 minutes later, someone came in and said, you're a geography teacher. And I said, well, welcome to geography class, everybody. And I'll be the first to admit that this story is kind of one that is not one of success. My teaching at first was not very good. And in fact, I'm reminded of a story when you're trying to figure out what you want to do with your life, and someone always says, you know you're doing what you're doing when you know you shouldn't be doing anything else. This is the exact opposite moment of that. I was teaching my class, and I had my back to my class like this. And I remember a commotion, and I turned around, and I saw this across my vision line. And it was a desk flying across the classroom at another student. And I remember thinking, that's not normal, nor natural. And a fight broke out between 2 female students. And actually, I was really happy because one of the students, I was 21 at the time, the student was 20, got up to break up the fight. And his pants were so baggy that, in fact, what happened when he broke up the fight were they fell down. And as I watched this student with his pants around his ankle trying to break up a fight between 2 girls, I remember thinking, I would rather be doing anything else than this right now. I was approached to coach women's basketball. I know you see me, I'm tall. I'm a terrible basketball player. But after that incident, anything to engage my students outside of the classroom, I was going to jump at. So when I started asking, our school's in trailers, we don't have anywhere to play, any money for uniforms, or uniforms for that matter, basketball is nothing, he quit. Didn't want to figure out the question. So I said, in famous last words, how hard can it possibly be to be an athletic director of a high school like this? So I was appointed at 21, the youngest athletic director in the state's history. It's really nice to say, but it was one of the hardest jobs I ever had to do. We had to raise money and do all of these things. And I'm going to fast forward. This sounds more noble than it is. I went around this summer to every Rotary Club that was located along the beach. I packed my friends into cars and said, you guys go to the beach. I'm going to put on a shirt and tie, give a presentation, and then I'll meet you guys on the beach. So we wound up raising $25,000 to get our football program back up and running. So we get on our PA and we say, anyone interested in playing football, come to the cafeteria trailer after school, and we'll give out the equipment and everything. And I'm expecting a room like I'm looking at right now. 2 kids showed up. So me and our football coach, we would walk, and this is horribly embarrassing, we would walk and we would look into the classroom in the little windows, and we would look for big kids. And we would call them out into the hallway and say, guess what you're doing after school? And they'd be like, what? We're like, you're playing football. And they're like, no, I don't really think I'm going to do that. And we would call their mother and say, listen, your son is going to stay after, and he's going to play football. And they said, you take him. And I'm like, well, looks like you're playing football after school. We lost every game that season. I probably had the worst win percentage as an athletic director in the history of mankind. More importantly, though, our kids were coming out. And for me, what I wanted to do was, we were maxing out credit cards, personal credit cards, trying to buy equipment. We were just trying to get the kids engaged after school, and we had to do something. So I heard about an opportunity from the National Football League that they would match up to $200,000 if you could raise it privately. So we went after it. We had 36 days to do this, started a website, and I called everyone I knew, and I said, donate to this or I'll never talk to you again. And we had a thermometer that would actually measure, as people donated in real time, the thermometer would move. So on the top, it had 200,000, and on the bottom, it had where we were at 0. And I called everyone I know, and we raised like $2,400, and I kid you not, the thermometer did not move. And I remember thinking, this is going to be a very long road. But in essence, if we could raise $4,000, $2,000, and apply for $2,000, that would have been a great thing. And we started talking with our community about building this community back up again and why it could be important. And my first year at the school, we lost 4 kids to violent death. For those of you who don't know, New Orleans, last quarter, we out-murdered Chicago. Chicago has 4.5 million people, city proper. New Orleans has 330,000. We had 72 murders in the first quarter of this year. It's a little bit of context for you. We also do a historically terrible job of engaging our kids. Nationally, you see after-school sports activity right around 55%. In New Orleans public schools last year, we hit 18%. And I'm going to show you something really interesting. This is a map of when crime happens in New Orleans. It's kind of blurry, but the 3 p.m. is the spike. Now, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but if you can put 2 and 2 together and think, if we engage 18% of people now, and you look at the crime rate where it is at 3 p.m., if we could do a little bit better job during that time, maybe we'll start to see a difference. And we began to pitch this, and we began to go after people, not in a dangerous way, but we began to approach people in the business community, and I've heard the word no so many times. We went after architects, construction companies, civil engineers, and in certain cases, I couldn't even get my parking validated. And finally, we got a big yes from an architectural company. A friend of mine was at a holiday party with an architectural firm, and he said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the phone in the guy's face, and you have 30 seconds. Pitch him. So he put the phone in the guy's face, and I said, this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to engage kids after school to build back the first public space of its kind like this in the city of New Orleans. Are you down? And he said, keep your phone on you. As it turns out, the next day, he was doing garden work with his wife and looking for basically any excuse to get out of it. So he said, hey, look, I got this kid in a coffee shop. He's trying to build some football field. Like, I got to go. And came and met with us. And he's our architect. He probably would hate me if I told you this story. We had raised about $40,000, and the grant was coming up due that Monday. And we were blasting this out on Facebook and Twitter and engaging community groups, the community, to get the word out there. And I got a phone call from a woman, and she said, hello, my name is Monica. I'm a corporate spokeswoman for Nike Corporation. Would $100,000 help get closer to your goal? Yes, it would. So she wired over the money the next morning, and at this point now the media had taken notice of our story. With a weekend left and like 70 grand left to raise, can we pull this off? Can we pull off this feat? And people at this point are bringing up boxes of checks from their business places. Our kids are bringing in handfuls of change, and it was this really remarkable situation. And we wound up raising the $200,000 in the rest of the week. And the only problem, and I didn't realize this because I'm very young and stupid, is that a football field that I described to you with the track and the lights and all that good stuff costs close to about $2 million. So I was like, you have got to be kidding me. We just raised close to $400,000, or right, $200,000 to apply for the grant. And now we got to raise another $1.8 million. And what we began to do was we began to do our homework, and we began to do our research to figure out exactly what we were doing. At our school, what we found amongst that population, our students that participated in sports came to school at 35% greater rates. There was a 25% reduction in violent activity at the school. And the kicker, they had a 0.5 grade point average increase over their non-athletic peers. So we knew that something here was happening, and we were stagnant for a while at about $1 million, which is nothing to sneeze at, but we couldn't get this project off the ground. And this is why I'm really happy to talk to you all today, is during one of those days, I was sitting outside of our trailer, and I had my head in my hands. And I just said, I don't think we're ever going to make it. to one of my students, and this student, her name was Tiana, she put her hand on my shoulder, and she said, "Baby, ain't nobody told you to do this to begin with." And that is the thing about compassion. No one told you to do what it is that you're doing. No one forces your hand to do anything, right? You choose to do what you're doing because you believe that it must get done. And as you meet people in the community and you meet people in businesses who buy into what you're saying with every check, with every kid that comes out for sports, you believe you must get done what has to get done. And I made a promise to her that day. I said, we will either finish this project or I will collapse on my way to the finish line. And the reason why I think that this is extremely important in communities across the country, and I'm trying to really get away from the mindset that we have academics on one side and sports on the other, is for this reason right here. This is no joke. This is a picture taken at our practice. None of those kids play football. Those are kids that stay after to be with our coaches and to be with our team because they feel safe here. And I kid you not, for every student, athlete we have another student who stays after to participate with our team. My point in the story is this, is that everyone in here, for the most part, either is a teacher or is working on something that they care about. And I encourage you all to keep going because there were so many deep, dark days that I wanted to turn back and give up on this project. And as a result, this community, we will turn over the keys in a couple months to the community once construction is finished on an 8-lane synthetic track, synthetic football field, stadium seating and lighting to be opened up to the public for free. It'll be the first community space of its kind in the city of New Orleans. So with that, I hope you're able to draw something from that story. There are many hilarious no's along the way in every single successful project. So best of luck with whatever you're working on. Thank you so much for having me here, and see you guys.